It was supposed to be a routine inspection. President Ibrahim Traoré was headed east to visit a military outpost not far from the Tapoa region, an area flagged for recent rebel activity. He didn't bring a full convoy, just 2 jeeps, a quiet escort, and a handful of trusted officers. The mission was meant to be silent, subtle, off the grid. But something strange happened before they even left the vicinity of the village. Just a few kilometers outside Fad and Gurma, as the convoy rolled cautiously along a narrow dirt road lined with dry grass and trees, they saw it. A donkey, standing squarely in the center of the path. Not grazing, not moving, just still. The driver honked once. No reaction. He honked again, louder. Still, the donkey didn't budge. "Should I go around it?" the driver asked. Traoré stared ahead calmly. "Wait," he said. "Let's see." One of the bodyguards stepped out, trying to shoo it off. He clapped, waved his arms. The donkey blinked, didn't move. And then something stranger happened. As the guard approached, the donkey suddenly let out a loud bray, spun in a tight circle, and sat down. Right in the middle of the road. "Just an animal," one soldier muttered. But Traoré's expression had shifted. He leaned forward, eyes fixed on the animal. "Launch the scout drone," he said quietly. "Something's off." Within minutes, the small drone rose into the Burkina Faso sky. It buzzed gently, scanning the terrain. At first, all seemed quiet. Dirt, track, dry brush, trees. Then, 300 meters ahead near a bend in the road, the feed changed. In a narrow clearing partially hidden by dry palm leaves, 3 men were lying flat, rifles aimed at the road. Scarves covered their faces. Behind them, obscured by branches, sat a motorcycle loaded with gear, possibly grenades or comms equipment. The drone operator froze. "Sir," he said, "we have visuals. This is a planned hit." Traoré stared. At the screen, then back at the donkey, still sitting unmoved. "They were waiting for us to come around that bend," he said. No need to finish the sentence. One jeep reversed quietly into the bush. The second cut its engine. A soldier asked, "Should we engage?" "Not yet," said Traoré. "Let them wonder why we're late." For 20 minutes, the convoy stayed hidden. The drone circled, recording every twitch. Then, movement. One of the gunmen stood up and spoke into a radio. "French. They should have passed already. Where are they?" A second voice replied, cold and precise. "Abort in 5 if no visual. We're exposed." Traoré turned to his men. "They're not rebels," he said. "They're trained, and they weren't here to scare us. They came to kill. And yet, their trap failed. Not because of intelligence, not because of weapons, because of a donkey." One soldier whispered, "What are the chances?" Another replied, "That's not chance. That's a sign." As the drone watched, the ambush team grew restless. One paced, another checked his radio again, tapping it like a broken clock. At minute 23, they broke formation. The team packed up with efficiency, no panic, just trained withdrawal, and slipped into the bush. Traoré waited 5 minutes before giving the signal. "Move in, carefully. What they left will speak louder than they ever could." The soldiers advanced. No firefight, just tracks in the dirt, broken leaves, a hidden dugout behind a tree, and beneath fresh foliage, a tripwire rigged to a compact explosive, meant for the rear vehicle. It had 2 triggers, one manual, one pressure-based, but then the biggest find, behind a mound, buried in a sealed plastic case, a satellite modem. Inside, a SIM card registered in Côte d'Ivoire. On the outside, in faded ink, 2 letters, RF1. Soldier murmured. "République Française?" Another shook his head. "Rebels don't write that. Rebels don't use satellite modems." Captain Umar turned to the president. "Sir, this wasn't a rebel ambush. This was foreign-trained, possibly foreign-led. Traoré stared at the dirt, the footprints, the trap. Then he said softly, "Sometimes the ground tells the truth, even when people lie." Back at the bend, the donkey still sat calmly. A soldier tried to coax it away. It took a few steps, then lay down again. Quiet, composed, like its job was done. A young private whispered, "Maybe the land sent him." The convoy rerouted. They reached the outpost safely using a different path. But the story didn't end there. In Ouagadougou, the modem and SIM were rushed to the presidential cyber unit. No signs, no uniforms, just plainclothes experts and layers of encryption. Analysis revealed 3 signals. Each bounced off a European satellite, ending on a private server in Lyon, France. Worse still, the SIM was registered to a non-profit listed in Côte d'Ivoire, claimed to do agricultural research. But the non-profit had no office, no staff, no trace. A ghost shell. The registered owner, Julien Morel, former French military attaché in Niger, now listed as a security consultant for an international energy company operating in the Sahel. In a closed briefing, President Traoré listened to the evidence, then said, "This wasn't for headlines. They planned for no witnesses. One more accident in the bush." But they didn't expect the donkey. An officer asked, "Do we release this to the public?" "Not yet," Traoré replied. "Let the people speak first. When truth rises from below, it's louder than any press release." Meanwhile, in Paris, inside a government building, quiet panic brewed. "He's making us look like fools, and he never even named us," said one official, tapping a photo of Traoré beside the donkey. Another replied, "Worse, he's making people believe in symbols. Once they do that, you can't control the story." Across Burkina Faso, whispers spread. Then fire. News confirmed it. Convoy changed route minutes before an ambush. Donkey blocked the path. Satellite gear linked to foreign networks. Hashtags. Followed. Dow the donkey. Traoré survives. Cambu knows. Elders turned it into folklore. The donkey saw what men did not. The ancestors walked the land again. Traoré didn't rush to speak, but privately, he told his guard, "They used our roads, but they don't understand the land. Out here, animals are not blind." 2 days later, a quiet signal reached Côte d'Ivoire's intelligence office from a French liaison. Not official, just a message. "We understand there's an investigation. We advise no public confrontation. Let this pass quietly. The matter is sensitive." That evening, President Alassane Ouattara called Traoré. "Brother," he said warmly, "we're relieved you're safe. But let me speak as a neighbor. Let's keep this off the record. These names, they're delicate." There was silence. Then Traoré replied, "You're right. I survived. But do you know what? Blocked the bomb? A donkey." Another pause. "Not intelligence, not weapons. A donkey saw what your partners tried to hide. So tell them this. If a donkey can see them, what do you think our people are seeing now?" Then he hung up. No anger, just dignity. Later, Traoré handed his team a simple video. No music, no edit. It showed the donkey blocking the road, then the bomb, then the message. They planned the trap, but the land warned us first. The clip exploded online. In Mali, griots sang of it. In Niger, T-shirts bore the donkey's face. In Ghana, a poet wrote, "When the donkey stands, the wise man stops. When the donkey brays, a nation listens." In Burkina Faso, fear turned to fire. At a youth rally, a girl shouted, "Why do they keep trying to kill our future?" A boy answered, "Because this time, they can't control it." 1 week later, Traoré sat quietly, report in hand. Foreign links, false NGOs, layers of lies. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about a system that thinks Africa is still blind." He didn't hold a press conference. Instead, he walked the very road where the donkey had stood. No entourage, just guards, one camera, and the animal. He approached, placed his hand gently on its head, and tied a red cloth around its neck. The color of resistance. No speech. Just a gesture. That night, he released one final message. Simple setting, plain clothes, a map behind him. They send drones, bribes, killers disguised as friends, but our land sends warnings. The road tried to speak. When we didn't listen, the donkey stood still. That's the Africa they don't understand, one that no longer asks permission to survive. Then, he announced Operation Cambu, a rural patrol initiative made of elders, trackers, and scouts, not just trained in weapons, but in listening to the land, sky, and silence. From that day on, every convoy in eastern Burkina Faso moved not just with soldiers, but with respect. And at the bend in the road, under the watchful Sahel sun, stood a donkey with a red cloth, still waiting, still watching, never ignored again.